Hey guys, good morning. I am here to do something different than I typically do. I'm going to show you how to make gluten-free crepes. So one thing that I do that makes it so much easier is I take all of the ingredients, put it in my Vitamix, set it to liquefy, and it is just that simple. Press one button and it's all done. So first I put in all of the liquids, and then at the end, then we just add the flour in. And super easy. I'm going to make a slightly larger batch than I have usually been making, so I'm going to go with half cup of olive oil. That is one of the keys to switching a gluten recipe to a gluten-free recipe. Is for me, I feel like I need so much more oil. Next, we're going to do 2 cups of milk. And I'm going to put in 4 eggs. So I'm breaking the eggs into my measuring cup first so that I can make sure that I don't get any shells straight into the Vitamix, but I always get it all over my fingers. And so now onto the dry ingredients. I'm going to do 2 cups of gluten-free flour. I've been using the King Arthur all-purpose flour, but I've done this with buckwheat and various brands of gluten-free flour. So finishing out the dry ingredients, I'm going to go with 2 teaspoons of salt. And then 2 tablespoons of sugar. I wouldn't probably put the sugar in if I was going to do a savory filling. I just like to put the sugar in whenever I'm going to do a sweet filling. Or at the very least, if you're doing savory, cut the sugar amount in half. But this sweet filling is the easiest thing in the world. Okay. So, speaking of easiest thing in the world, I just put the lid on. Let's go. Okay, so on this model, I have the 750 Pro Series. I just turned it up to the liquefy setting, but you can play with your other models of blenders. So now you can see it is a thick, very liquidy consistency. And let me put this in here and make sure everything is mixed up. Yeah, we don't have any chunks at the bottom. I only had that happen one time. Even though I put the flour in about last, it still got stuck at the bottom, and so you just want to be careful. I have this heated up. I have the largest burner set to number 5 out of 6, so up pretty high. And the key with these is cooking them really quite quickly. I'm not super great at getting them to be beautiful the whole way through, but you know, if they taste good, who cares? And as soon as you can pick this up, then start taking your spatula and trying to get this to pick up so that you can flip it as soon as possible. Okay, so this one I forgot to get a plate to place this onto, and I wasn't able to get the entire thing, thank you. But just a quick flip, and look how flexible that is. So much of that is thanks to all of the oil. And as soon as you can pick this up, then start taking your spatula and trying to get this to pick up so that you can flip it as soon as possible. Okay, so this one I forgot to get a plate to place this onto, and I wasn't able to get the entire thing, thank you. But just a quick flip, and look how flexible that is. So much of that is thanks to all of the oil. So this one's going to be a little bit thicker than I might like, but just spread it out a little bit farther, it'll be fine. But with that really, really thin consistency of a batter, then it makes it much easier to get it spread out into very, very like paper thin crepes, even though it's gluten-free, and gluten usually is what you need to keep it all together to be able to get that thin consistency that holds together. Why are these breaking today? So maybe I need to carve out my edges a little bit better. As I said, I had just perfected them, and then today I have them breaking. Okay, so with this, to get them to pick up without pulling on them as much as I typically would with a traditional crepe, then I stick my spatula under there and I kind of roll it so that it picks it up without pushing it out of the way. And the faster you can cook these, the softer they will remain. That's why I have the heat up pretty high, and I'm pulling them off after just a few seconds. So since I've been having trouble with this side sticking, I'm going to break this out first. But I think now we're good. And this side seems to be showing that little bit of brown first. So I'm going to start here with picking it up. Always start with where you see the most cooked. And there you go. Okay, they're finally coming in good. Traditionally, they figure, at least the way that I've learned about making versions of crepes, you figure the first few are going to be trash. Things just don't seem to go real well right off the bat whenever you're starting a batch of crepes. So this one's really, really thin. And so I'll make sure I really roll it instead of pulling on it. And it stayed together quite well. So I hope that process of understanding to roll it makes sense. And once it's basically cooked, then it will hold together a whole lot better. But seriously, look at how thin that is. It is just like paper. It has some holes in it, but I cook for flavor. It's such a fine line of being able to get them as thin as you'd like and still strong enough to be able to hold together. But I would rather have a crepe that is falling apart but more thin, because it tastes better to me. It's much lighter of a flavor, and again, who cares if it has a hole in it? I don't take my crepes and roll them into anything fancy. Obviously, I just lay them out, and from there I serve. And then after I get this batch cooked, then I can show you what we do. I make a mixture of sour cream and sugar, and we dip. That way you have really good brunch, and it is in a small fraction of the time. This one's a winner. He may not be pretty, but man, it's holding together. Oh, and so if I'm making crepes with gluten, just traditional with regular flour, then it's no problem. and they turn out better if you use a traditional cast iron crepe pan. But with these, as you can tell, they're so delicate, it's just kind of impossible. I can't seem to get that to work, to use my cast iron, even though typically, like, my regular cast iron skillet is more non-stick than any non-stick skillet that I own. I need a pretty fresh non-stick to be able to make this work. I'm sure all of you type A's are just going insane looking at the shapes of my crepes, because I know they're ugly. Would you rather have something ugly that tastes good or nothing at all? Please, I support you. If you can make them look prettier and taste just as good, then you are better than me, at least at that. Yeah, I applaud you if you can manage to quickly make a perfectly round, beautiful gluten-free crepe that is not dried out. Because it seems to be, especially with these, if they're stiff, they cooked a little bit too long. Like this one will probably end up stiff because I got it. Ah, there. Okay. Thought he was giving me too much trouble. Now, the sooner you can get this on and off the pan, the softer your crepe is going. Okay, just a few more left. And if you have actually sat here and watched me do all of this, then good job. You have a special kind of patience. Oh, so let me explain my deal with trying to make gluten-free crepes. I have friends who taught me how to make them, and I had just gotten them really figured out. It was my thing. If somebody was going to ask me to make something or bring something to their house, they would always say bring crepes. Just about that time, I realized that I was completely gluten intolerant. So then shortly thereafter, I realized I still break out in a rash if I make crepes with gluten in them for other people. Okay, so the crust is building up too much on my spreader thing. Yeah, so obviously I had to figure out how to make my signature thing in a way that I could actually make my signature thing. If that makes any sense. Being that my friends taught me how to do this, I don't want to go in and not credit them, but I'm sorry if I have completely let you down on how I have destroyed what you originally taught me and changed it probably way too much, but it's as close as I can manage to get it as close to how delicious yours are. So this is a little bit thicker down here, so I'm just not going to get them as thin as they were. But thank you so much, Alex and Lana. If for some reason you guys happen to be watching this, I greatly appreciate all of your help in teaching me how to cook. They've taught me lots of things. I feel like this is a regular old pancake. Okay, up and out. I almost forgot to show you how to make the sweet sour cream. Super simple, but I can't leave it out. Easiest to show you in clear glass so you can see what's going into it. Take a few scoops of sour cream, and then I try to put in about a third the amount of sugar. That's going to be a really sweet mixture. And whenever you mix together the sugar, as the sugar dissolves into the sour cream, it's going to make the sour cream more liquidy of a consistency than it originally was. Especially with this type of sugar, it's really coarse. Just take our crepe, either tear it up or fold it into fours and dip it. And it's, oops, oh no. But anyway, Yeah, it's so easy and it is so delicious. So if you have stayed here until now, I really, really appreciate it. If you have any questions, leave them down below and I will do my best to answer it. So here is our little stack of maybe not the most beautiful, but probably the most tasty gluten-free crepes that I've had. So thanks so much for watching and come back soon and see what we have next. Have a good one. Bye-bye.